One Sunday in April 23, a Colorado mom got a horrifying call from her daughter Jane. Jane was crying and said,
"Mom, I messed up."
Suddenly, she heard a man shouting.
"Lie down and tilt your head back."
She could hear Jane fighting and yelling for help.
"Mom, these bad men have me. Help me, please."
Then, the menacing kidnapper spoke.
"Pay attention. I have your daughter. You tell anyone. You call the police. I'm gonna fill her stomach with drugs, dump her in Mexico, and you'll never see her again."
First, he demanded $1 million. When she said she didn't have that much money, he reduced the amount to $50,000. All this time, she could hear Jane in the background, desperately begging.
"Mom, help me, please."
Jane's mother was frantic and didn't know what to do. She started requesting bank details and account numbers. Then, the man replied.
"No way. That's trackable. That's not how this is gonna work. We're gonna come get you."
The kidnapper went on.
"You will agree to be picked up in a white van with a bag over your head so you don't know where we're taking you."
At the time of the call, Jane's mother was at her other daughter's dance class. She muted the kidnapper and yelled for help. The other moms around her started dialing 911 and trying to reach Jane. The kidnapper continued with his demands.
"You better have all $50,000 in cash. Otherwise, both you and your daughter are dead. If you don't agree to this, you will never see your daughter again."
At this moment, another mom ran in and confirmed that after talking to her daughter on the phone, Jane was totally safe and with her friends on a ski trip. Jane's mother's head was spinning. Then, one of the moms who called 911 rushed inside and told her that the police were aware of an AI scam where they were able to clone and mimic a loved one's voice. As Jane's mother recalls,
"It was completely her voice. It was her inflection. It was the way she would have cried. I never doubted for 1 second that it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core."
Now, this raises one question. If voice deepfakes need a sample to reproduce a voice, how did they get it? Criminals now just need 3 seconds of a sample to clone a person's voice and use it for malicious purposes. The result is a voice deepfake that can fool almost anyone, especially when criminals use fear tactics and pressure. But how did they get the sample of Jane's voice in the first place? She didn't have any public social media accounts, but she was active in her high school, and her voice could be heard in a few interviews for her local newspaper. That small clip was enough for the scammers to get a hold of her voice data and use it against her family. But one question remained. When the mother received the call, it was Jane's number, and her name was on the caller ID. How was this possible? This is where another scam technique came into play: caller ID spoofing. Caller ID spoofing is when a caller falsifies the information transmitted to your phone's display to hide their true identity. By doing so, scammers can increase the chances of people picking up and falling for their tricks. In fact, spoofing is one of the most common and dangerous scam techniques used by criminals today. So, how can you protect yourself against caller ID spoofing and voice deepfake scams? Caller ID spoofing and voice deepfakes are two of the most sophisticated and dangerous scams used by criminals today. By being aware and staying vigilant, you can reduce the risk of yourself and your loved ones being deceived by them. Here are 7 steps that you can take to identify these scams. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. If you don't recognize the number on your caller ID, let it go to voicemail. If it's important, they'll leave a message. Don't trust caller ID. Even if the number looks familiar or legitimate, don't assume that it's real. Scammers can spoof any number they want, including your own. Don't press any buttons. If you answer a call and the caller or recording asks you to hit a button, don't do it. This is a trick to identify potential targets and get more information from you. Don't respond to any questions, especially those that can be answered with yes or no. Scammers can use your voice recordings to authorize unwanted charges or transactions. Don't give out personal information. Never give out your account numbers, social security numbers, passwords, or other identifying information in response to unexpected calls. Hang up and call back. If you get an inquiry from someone who says they represent a company or a government agency, hang up and call the phone number on your account statement or the official website to verify the authenticity of this request. And finally, you need to create a family plan. Include the entire family, from grandparents to grandchildren. Create a code or phrase, or even a question with an answer that only that individual would know. It's best practice for no more than 2 people to have the same passphrase. Also, while creating these codes, have these conversations offline and not through email or messaging apps. We are living in a time where you cannot believe everything you hear and everything you see. But by educating yourself and others, you can reduce your risk of falling victim to cybercrime. If you found this information helpful, share it with your network, family, and friends. So like you, they can protect themselves against these growing cybersecurity threats. My name's Ray. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there.